about what we think is important. We talked about what are we going to present today. Our goal is not to present to you with financial advice, how to invest your money and what to do with taxes or your employees. That's really not our expertise. Our job is to keep you on track and to make sure that when you are facing a crisis of this magnitude, this is the biggest crisis in a long time worldwide. Our job is to make sure that you don't stay under the blanket and just wait for the storm to pass. We want you to have a proactive approach. We want you to stay calm and focus, because your future depends on the decisions that you're going to make today, now. So you want to make good decisions. You want to get educated, and all we can do is share with you our journey so far throughout this crisis, through our broadcasts, through our courses, through our blogs, and all the different things you're seeing on social media. Snezhana, how are things in Croatia now in regards to the outbreak?
Actually, pretty well under control. We are on border to the Italy, to the North Italy, and you must know that most of the patients in my clinic are from the North Italy. But in Croatia, we have pretty good under control. We have about 1,000 cases now, infected people, not ill people, infected people. And it is maybe because the war is not that far away, maybe a little bit, from socialism, this kind of organization, and but we are pretty good. I was expecting more response like in Italy and Spain, but no, really a lot of discipline, and it's okay.
Great. And how is the dental community doing in terms of practices?
Only emergency
changes.
Yes, only emergency with the protection, printing out in dent labs. Now we have all these printer to do protections, and we are supplied. Only emergency.
Okay, and how are you protecting yourself as a dentist when you're treating an emergency?
With special F3 masks, with this plastic visor with caps, and one-way close, double close, everything what is possible. Less than what I'm going to show in my lecture about soft tissue, because it has something with soft tissue sealing. But we are not that perfect like South Korea or Taiwan, but I think we are going pretty well.
And how is the atmosphere? I know medically, we know what we need to do. We only need to see emergencies. We know that we need to protect ourselves, and we talked about it in previous broadcasts, and we will keep broadcasting the newest and the latest in regards to personal protective equipment. But what I'm interested about is, what is the mood? What is the psychology of people right now that are non-dentists where you live, but also the dentists that what is the atmosphere?
It is very depending on the individual character. There are people who are simply afraid and petrified, and people that try to use this time, not to waste this time, because there is a small gift in this crisis, and this is the time. There are people who use the time, and there are such a lot of amazing jokes circulating, really, videos and jokes, but it is a lot of fear about the future, about losing the jobs. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I think, I mean, this fear, it is not just to tell, he's anxious. He is like, many are going to lose the job worldwide.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Is there some advice that you could give to somebody who is like reading the news and checking polls every minute? What advice would you give this person?
I really stopped reading the news all the time. I keep myself posted twice a day. I already told you, and now I will tell to all 339 participants. it is like my husband and me, both of us have to improve our English skills. So twice a day, he refers to me, reports to me the situation in the world about politics and economy and what's going on in English language. And we discuss it in English language. So we don't waste any time.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Rashad, what about you? How are you holding up there with your family?
I'm holding up well. I'm practicing what I'm working on myself. I'm you know, taking that time to really reflect and you know, get centered again. You know, when life is going and at 1,000 miles per hour, especially here in Los Angeles, you're kind of just doing. So I'm taking my precautions. I do see emergency patients. I'm seeing patients that tell me they go to the hospital and they're not accepting them at the hospital. So I think the role of the dentist here to field and curate which patient needs really has a dental emergency you can you know really add a lot of value to your community. I got a patient who was bothered by her bite. I told her that's not a real emergency, but mostly taking out, you know, infected teeth, cysts, people coming in swollen. So I feel good that I'm doing, you know, my part with that. I'm, you know, wearing as much protection as I can, and I have faith, you know, and I have faith, and I just do my best here. And you know, working alongside with you on putting out amazing content to this worldwide via our Surgical Master platform. It's giving us some time now to really strategize and make sure we deliver information, knowledge that will uplift you dentists out there, because we all need a little uplifting. How many people are whispering greatness into your ears? Not many. So we'd like to be one of those people whispering greatness by collaborating with you know, great speakers, people who really want to teach, like Dr. Paul and people like that. So I'm doing great given the circumstances.
Excellent. What is the number one challenge you're experiencing right now in your life? What's your number one challenge?
Number one challenge,
except for not being able to get you know, a soy creamer.
You mean like something that's not a first world challenge?
What is your main challenge?
I'm working on implementing an exercise routine, and my body, I've been just focusing on work a lot, and I need to establish some balance with respect to that. So that's my my number one challenge.
Excellent. Excellent. So good. So we're going to get started. We have tons of doctors here with us during this broadcast. We'll have more joining us. So make sure to ask questions inside the chat. We will do our best to answer all of them. And if we don't answer them now, we'll screen them and we'll answer them later in the clinical segment. In between, we will share with you the interview with the corona patient who survived. We'll share different segments of the interview. Now, sometimes the internet goes down. It can go down in your place. It can get slow. So if you're at home, make sure that other people are not streaming at the same time, so you have a better connection. But if you get disconnected, just follow the same link and it'll bring us right back there. We may get disconnected too, and we'll do the same. So these things happen. This is now the new lecture room. We've been using webinars and broadcasts for many, many years. And this is pretty much our first home to get to everybody's home, but also into everybody's mind. We don't want to give you just information. Information is now cheap. And you see how many webinars are happening every day, probably about 10 to 20. Our goal is to inspire you and empower you to survive this and to stabilize your business and to be a source of strength to your employees, to your family, to your spouse, and not to be somewhere in the back and hide. We want you to be proud of being a dentist and a doctor. We're playing a very important role in controlling this pandemic by intercepting true emergencies in our practices so we don't overwhelm the hospitals. And you're doing great things in the world. I know things are hard right now, and they're hard for me, and they're hard for my colleagues here on this broadcast. And the fact that we're smiling, sometimes we don't feel like smiling, but we must keep smiling because that gives energy. And the collective energy cannot even be measured. There's not one device that can measure the synergy between so many doctors. And as much as we like to give you energy, we are also benefiting from it individually, personally, and it keeps us busy too at this time. Rashad, anything else you'd like to add before we get started talking about the financial tactics?
No, did you want to play maybe a video for the Corona survivor?
Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for one more. Rashad, tell us a little bit about this patient, maybe in a nutshell, and your acquaintance with him.
Sure. So this patient is a relative of mine. His name is Ziad, and he was traveling. He was in Lebanon, and then he came to Los Angeles through Paris, and then he got Corona. So he basically gives us an account of what he went through and his experience with Corona. And we thought that would be valuable because you hear it, but then you don't really see it. And there is some people out there reporting civilians reporting otherwise, that it's not really as big of a pandemic as the media is making it out to be. Unless you have boots on the grounds, then it's hard to differentiate what's right, what's wrong, or what's accurate, what's not. But from our part, at least we found, we went and talked to Ziad, and we're like, are you willing to share your story with the dentists out there? And he graciously accepted. So Ziad, from my end, I'm having an issue bringing up his video. So if you want, you can start with what you're doing, or if you bring it up on your end and share it, then that would be good as well.
Okay, very good. Let's try that. So I'll talk about the advice to doctors.
The advice to doctors?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's see.
Like, for example, ER doctors, they're like at the front line, So number one, they have to be educated about Corona. They definitely have to be very well educated about Corona. And whoever goes in and telling him, I might have Corona, they have to assume that he has Corona. They can't assume otherwise, because they'll be hurting themselves probably, people at the ER and just people in general, and the patient himself or herself. So they have to assume that he has Corona, because nobody's going to the hospital saying I have Corona because they like to have Corona. It's just because they might have been exposed, or they might have some symptoms. So in my case, I assumed I've been exposed and I was having symptoms. So, the ER doctors at Northridge Hospital, they should have assumed that I have Corona, whatever the test was coming, whatever the results were coming, just because my gut feeling and what I was going through I think is more accurate than whatever test they were doing. And it proved, I was proven correct, Like, I really felt bad for the doctor that came without any face mask, without any gloves, with nothing, So poor guy, he came to, to comfort me that you're fine. But I was not fine, and maybe he got it. You know what I'm saying? So when the state called me, I told them about the doctor, and I think they reached out for him just to test or whatever, because I hope he didn't get it. But he should have been more cautious. He should have treated me as if I have it, not otherwise.
Yeah, no, this is, I interviewed this patient. It was just a gripping story. I want to share with you, this is true advice from a patient's perspective. And he says very, very clearly, treat every patient as if they have Corona. This is a very infectious condition. I'm going to share one more video. Let's see. I'm going to share one more video here. Okay, I guess I have to stop this one. There's no sound. Okay, we did our best to share the corona patient, and we'll do better next time. During the broadcast, we'll share some more. Excellent. So let's get started talking about the financial tactics when it comes to the corona outbreak. And let me know in the chat room if you can hear me loud and clear, and if you can see my my presentation. Dentist versus Corona, number 3, the financial tactics. I'm going to keep my chat open at some point. So again, welcome to this broadcast. If you just joined us, we have over 350 doctors with us right now from around the world. And we are coming together during this outbreak as dentists to share the knowledge, to share the support and the camaraderie that we all need so much at this special time. We must be strong. It's not always that easy to be strong. And if you think about what you're going through right now, you're being tested. Your strength, your patience, your calm, your composure, your intelligence, everything being tested. Your financial situation is being tested. And when I thought about it like a muscle fiber. It's like a muscle fiber that gets stretched and stretched and stretched, and hopefully it never tears. But if you think about muscle fibers, the signal for their growth, the only signal